welcome back to Football Tragics. Just the two of us today, Tony. We'll quickly run through that Chelsea v United game because I know you guys didn't cover anything in the preview, but given that you're here, I'm here. What were your thoughts on the game before we get into the round?
Let's just be honest. I think until the 60th minute, I forgot that we had any players other than De Gea on the pitch. Obviously, you guys in your system, you do like those win backs. I don't think we adapted to that. Obviously, that your right-hand side, our left-hand edge was just abysmal. So, I mean, to get away with a point after playing that poorly, you take it. But there's a lot of questions still to be asked moving into next year. And I think it shows you the job that Ten Hag has once he gets into the club.
Yeah, for sure. I was surprised how often we were allowed to use that right-hand side. I mean, Reece James had an absolute field day. It just looked like Marcus Rashford just wasn't even tracking back or doing anything. I think there was a few times where Ronaldo was tracking back, maybe Bruno a couple of times, and it was like, well, this is Rashford's job. Tellez was kind of getting double teamed at all times. But on a Chelsea perspective, we should have put 4 or 5 passes, so that wasn't good enough on our end, finishing wise. And then obviously Ronaldo comes in clutch. I think it's his first goal in 11 or 12 games in the Prem against Chelsea, so a milestone for him. But I mean, we should have done better. We should have won that game, and I mean that was pretty obvious to see. So for us to drop points is a bit disappointing, but we're still 6 clear of Arsenal in third. So I'd like to think we're okay. For you guys, I mean, it was probably it wasn't even your final chance to get top 4, but I mean, you needed something. A point's not good enough, and like you said, it shows that Ten Hag has a lot of work to do and a lot to clear out before next season, I think. So let's jump into the round ahead then. We'll keep it short. The games here, let me just pull those up. Newcastle v Liverpool, kicking us off early tonight. Then we've got Watford, Burnley, Southampton, Palace, Villa, Norwich, Wolves, Brighton, Leeds, City, Spurs, Leicester, Everton, Chelsea, West Ham, Arsenal, and then we finish with your boys, United v Brentford. That first game there, Tony, Newcastle v Liverpool, early kickoff. They do say never back the early kickoff, so can we see an upset in this game, or will Liverpool run straight over them?
Oh, I'd love to sit here and say that Newcastle are going to make Liverpool drop points. And honestly, if I came in here tomorrow and I saw that it was a draw, I wouldn't be shocked. But I think given the run, they didn't have the hardest Champions League game, obviously midweek. They kind of cruised through that. They dominated that. I just think Liverpool knows what to do. They've been here before. They know what they have to do. They have to go undefeated if they even want a chance at winning this title. So I'm going to go Liverpool 3-1. But like I said, it wouldn't surprise me if I came into a draw come tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm fully agreeing with you. I think Newcastle have been quite impressive recently. But like you said, Liverpool have to be perfect. They had an easier game during the week, which you wouldn't usually expect for a Champions League semi-final, but they got it. And yeah, they should go over Newcastle, even though Newcastle have been one of the better teams, at least this year. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a one or draw, 0 or draw even, because Newcastle had half in the first. I believe Shelby opened scoring and put on Liverpool. But yeah, I think Liverpool might run over this 2-0. There we go. We're back 2-0 for Liverpool. What's your prediction if you had to run in?
For which game, sorry? You cut out a little bit there for a little bit.
Newcastle, Liverpool, we're still on the first one.
3-1. I'm going to go Liverpool 3-1. I think they get the result done. I think they move past it and they look forward to that second leg.
All right. Move into Watford v Burnley here. This is an interesting one, actually, in my opinion. You've got 2 teams playing for relegation safety, to avoid relegation. They're in good spirits at the moment. Watford, not so much. Watford's almost down. You could probably say that. But Burnley, I mean, they get a good result here, and they're putting a lot of pressure on Everton there. What's your prediction for this game?
Honestly, I think this is the game that ultimately saves Burnley, ends Everton's season. Obviously, I think Burnley get the win here. I think they do it quite comfortable. Watford, although they did score last weekend against City, they were terrible in patches, and it's a different game when you're playing Burnley. They will strangle you, and then they will score a goal. I then look forward to what we'll get into later, and it's Chelsea-Everton. So it's a massive round here. If Burnley gets points and Everton's drop points, I'm calling it a season. You can get rid of the bottom 3, and I think that's as far as it's going to go. So I'm going to go 2-0 Burnley.
I do think that, yeah, if Burnley do get the points here, that'll be enough to send Everton down, given that Everton do have a tough run in. However, I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw. I think Watford just snag a point here, and it's not. I mean, it's not the best result again for Everton, given that they do have Chelsea. And I'm going to tip them a bit later, but yeah, I think that 1-1 draw, the way I see it, I think Watford, they'll still be fighting because mathematically they're not down. It's almost near impossible, but they'll still be fighting. They don't want to finish bottom, I think, as well. I think they're only a point above Norwich, so that'll be enough to kind of push them forward. But so I see a 1-1 draw, and it's probably a better result for Everton than it is for Burnley. All right, we've got Southampton v Palace now. How do you see this one going? Southampton's been pretty bad recently.
James Ward-Prowse free kick, 1-0. It seems to be the thing that he does. It's one of those games where if you give him anywhere a free kick outside 25, 30 yards, it's going in the corner. So I'm going to go 1-0. I'm going to call a free kick, and Southampton continue that little decent patch, but not the best patch.
Yeah, no, they've been very up and down recently. It's a bit of their season because they were looking good for a while there. Like you said there, Prowse scoring a free kick. It seems like it happens most weeks. I think he's on 13 now for the Premier League, and I think Baxter's on 17 or 18. So he's not too far behind him. That could change next year. I think he might pip him to the record. Would be fully deserved because he's an absolute phenomenal free kick taker. I'm going to back it. I'm going to go with a James Ward-Prowse free kick, but I think Palace get somewhat of a result here. So maybe a draw. So 1-1 draw, I think. Maybe Wilfred Zaha scoring and then Prowse with that free kick. Villa v Norwich. I mean, look, Norwich, are they mathematically down? I don't think so, but this should be the game that, again, my maths is never spot on, but it should be mathematically impossible after this game because Villa should not be dropping points against Norwich at home. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, obviously, even with this game, I think there is that, I want to say 8-point gap between them and I think it's a 10-point gap between them and Burnley. So if Burnley were to pick up points and they do drop points here, it'll be mathematically over.
There we go.
In true Norwich fashion, you know what? Like 5-0 Villa. Let's just send them down in a style. Let's send them down. Let's Villa run riot for one game. Send Norwich down, and we don't have to talk about them for the last 4 weeks of the podcast. So.
All right. Well, I want to quickly talk about Villa then, because what are your thoughts on their season? They were lost 4 in a row, then they've got a draw most recently. But from the way Gerrard came in, it looked great. Like I think he boasted a great first 5 games or whatever it was, and then is he underperforming now? Is this showing true colours, or is it just Villa just not performing to how he should? How do you see it?
It's still a bit of that honeymoon period. I know we touched on it slightly in the last episode. We didn't go into too much depth, but we sit here and we say he's underperforming. We said at the start of the season he probably didn't have the squad to do much better than what they're doing now. If they win their 2 games that they have in hand over Brighton and Brentford, they're sitting 11th. So is that a good season for Gerrard? Is that a bad season? We don't know. It depends what happens in these last 6 games, but give him a full transfer year. Let him see who he brings in, obviously, in this next transfer window. Give him January. And come February, March next year, we'll start to know a bit more of what he's going to do with his squad.
Yeah. Because, you look at the table right and you think it's not quite impressive, but like you said, they've got a couple of games in here. They do win those, and they do jump up. The likes of, the players that he's brought in, the Coutinhos, for example, obviously massive transfers. They need to make sure they can secure that transfer on a permanent, and then, give him another window, give him a full preseason, and hopefully they can start climbing a bit because, they're one of the bigger clubs. They're one of the more historic clubs. You want to see them do well. And I think Gerrard has proved he's a good manager. He went undefeated with Rangers. I want to see them do well. But I think now that we know Klopp's staying at Liverpool for another couple of years, it means Gerrard will be staying put for another couple of years at least as well, I think. So he should have time to build what he wants at Villa. I wouldn't be surprised to see him finishing regularly in the top half if he works his magic. But back to the game, I'm going to go with a Villa 3-0. I think, Norwich are down. This is them mathematically gone. All right, we've got Wolves v Brighton. I don't know how to pick this one because Wolves, it's weird because they were in good form. They were hitting like almost European football, and then all of a sudden the backs rolled off again, and they're a few points behind again. They've lost 2 in a row at home against Brighton. They lost against Newcastle even as well. Wolves did. At home against Brighton, I'm going to go with the 1-0 Wolves win. I think Brighton, again, a bit similar. They were hitting some good form to start the season, but then they've kind of backed off quite a fair bit as well. So I'm going to back the home win here. Wolves 1-0 over Brighton. How do you see it playing out?
Yeah, I'm going to go for Wolves. I think they've got more to fight for in this game. Obviously, they do have a game in hand on West Ham. They win this game, they go equal in that Conference League position. So obviously, we don't know what's going to happen with if they win the Europa, if West Ham win this, if Leicester win this. We don't know what's going to happen exactly. But if Wolves can get into Europe next year, even be at the Conference League, I think that's a win for a size and a club that size. So I'm going to go 2-0 Wolves. I think they get the job done. And for Brighton, well, it's not a bad season. You're almost in that top half, and it's happy days.
Yeah, I think Brighton, if they do finish around about there where they are now, that's a good season for. I think they also want to keep a hold of Graham Potter because there was obviously rumours linking him to even say the United job, which was never going to happen. But a few bigger clubs were after him, so if they can just keep a hold of Graham Potter and then just build towards next season, decent finish for them. They'll take that middle of the pack. Leeds v Man City. I think every Liverpool fan right now would be thinking this could be one of the games that City can slip up. But, I mean, you and I, do we see it happen? I personally don't. I think City will run over them. I know they had a challenging game midweek, but Leeds they're in okay form. They've got Jesse Marsh. They're doing well, but they're at risk of relegation right now, and City's fighting for a title. I just think City have the edge there. What do you think?
Yeah, this kind of looks like that Liverpool game. We spoke about it first. Now, I think City come out. I think they get the job done. We don't know what that game midweek had effect-wise on their bodies, if there's going to be rotations. They've got a big leg coming back up. So we don't know exactly what's going through Pep's head, but what we do know is a team like City have depth. They have the players that can come on. Like 6 weeks ago, we were saying Gabriel Jesus is done. Now we're saying, what an absolute baller. Who wants to sign him? So I'm going to go City. Again, I'm going to stick with the same scoreline I did for Liverpool. I'm going to go City 3-1, and it wouldn't surprise me if I came in and both these games with draws coming into the week and both teams don't make up any distance.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it'd be ideal for City, obviously, if they go and see that Liverpool's drop points they can afford to as well, I suppose. But I'm going to go with a 1-0 win for City. I think it's going to be a very tricky game for them, and it's going to take a lot to break it down. I think it did last time they played Leeds as well. But yeah, I think they'll just get over the line, and that's obviously what I'm hoping. Don't want to see Liverpool jump them to the title. So yeah, I think 1-0 City. It's going to be a very, very tricky game though. And I do think they've got a couple of injuries after that Champions League game. So they might be on a little bare legs. And it'd be interesting to see how much I wouldn't say prioritise this game with Champions League coming up because they're in the fight for a title. They're always going to prioritise a game. But it will be interesting to see the lineup they come out with. But like you say, Gabby Jesus is in sublime form right now. And
it could even be something, Aaron, where they just go, listen, you, and you, get out there, secure the result. You're coming off in the 60th minute. Like, it might be something like that. Let's go out full guns blazing, get the win, and then we'll pull you off and you can rest on the sideline.
Definitely happen. But yeah, so let's go with the City win, but only just, in my opinion. Spurs v Leicester, Tony. We'll let you take this one. Does Spurs fix their little hiccup of form there and kind of get back above Arsenal temporarily?
I just want, you know what, I'm going to go for Spurs here because I'm sick and tired of coming on here every week and you guys telling me, United still have a chance at the top four. No, I've been saying for 8 weeks, the top four is over. So Tottenham are going to win this game. It's going to put us out of our misery. Obviously, we are already 5 points behind Arsenal, 3 points behind Tottenham. We've played 2 extra games. So Tottenham are going to win this game. Arsenal should beat West Ham and do us a favour. And you guys can shut up about United having a chance at the top four, all right? So Tottenham, 4-1. They're going to run over Leicester. Leicester have one eye, obviously, on that second leg. And I'm going to say Kane gets on the score sheet with a double.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even disagree with you there. I know I have been probably the only one saying, I have a chance for a while now, but I've even changed my ways that they don't have a chance at all. I think Spurs, this could be the game that I think genuinely could make it ugly for Leicester and win 4 or 5-1, 4 or 5-0 even. They were in good form under Conte for a little bit there. They've had a bit of a hiccup. They've got a North London derby coming up, so any point now is literally going to make sure that game is the top 4 decider. I don't know who I want out of Arsenal and Spurs to get top 4. I don't really care. I suppose maybe for the nostalgia, it'd be better to see Arsenal do it. But
for the banter, it'd be funny to see Tottenham making an Arsenal drop out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, they go back and forth. How many years now have Spurs finished above Arsenal? 3 or 4 or something in a row.
Yeah,
so
3 or 4
wouldn't be good. But yeah, I think this game they do put a few past Leicester, and put pressure back on Arsenal again to get a result almost straight after. Before we get into that game, though, we've got Everton v Chelsea. What do you think, Tony? Frank Lampard against Chelsea? Can he pull up a magic result, or is it too much to ask against a team again wanting to solidify their top 4 spot?
This would almost be a game where there's some back end dodgy deal between Lampard and Chelsea. That listen, mate, just give me the win, and I'll take care of someone else at the end of the year for you. But no, I think it's going to be one-way traffic. I think Chelsea, you have those games like they did against United where you just don't score. I think they're going to have not as many chances in this game, but they're going to take their chances, and I think it's going to be a cruisy 4-0 win for Chelsea.
Had we have beaten United and been a few more points clear of Arsenal, I would have said I don't mind letting this game go and just giving Lampard that extra win. But we need to wrap up 3rd place, and it's not done yet. And Everton, they are just not playing good football. They're just not at all. They held out Liverpool for as long as they could, but I think in the end it was just the class got over them. Lampard, again, I want to see him do well. I want to see him succeed, but Everton are well and truly in the mud right now. So I think we win. I don't think it's going to be too comfortable, but I think we win 1 or 2-0. And that should be us top 4. I think we only needed mathematically 5 more points to finish 4th. So yeah, that should be us. And then
I think a win here and almost would secure you seeing Arsenal and Tottenham play each other. So they're dropping points there, someone. So
yeah, no, I think you're correct for sure. That should be us. I think hopefully Everton again. It's coming down to the wire. That'll leave them with 5 games to go, and probably still behind Burnley. So tricky business for Lampard and the Everton team there. All right, we move into the West Ham Arsenal game. Like you said, you think Arsenal run over West Ham? Do you?
I think West Ham will be stupid to play anyone in their first team. You've got probably your best chance, obviously, to get into the Champions League next year. Obviously, against Frankfurt, you are down 2-1. I'm not saying throw the game, but let your kids have a bit of a run. Let's see what your depth's like. You've got, I think it's all 4 centre-backs are out, either injured or suspended. So that's already a tough task in itself. Give Arsenal a win. They're going to win it 3-0. They'll secure their top 4 almost if Tottenham do drop points. But if I'm West Ham, I've almost crossed this out in the calendar and I'm focusing on that match coming up midweek because if we can get a result there, we're 1 game away from Champions League football.
It is tricky though because they're sitting in a Conference League spot right now. Do they want to then go and get Europa League, solidify European football again next year? Otherwise, Wolves could potentially pip into it. But like you said, they're only down 2-1. There's no away goal, so they're just down a goal really in the second leg. We saw the team they put out against Chelsea, and they were missing the likes of Declan Rice, Mikel Antonio, Jarrett Bowen. I don't think any of them started. I think Declan Rice came off the bench, but it could be one of those ones where they rest their more important players and they really do push for that European glory this year and get Champions League football because that would be a remarkable season. But there's 2 legs to it because they haven't got European football at this stage just yet. So, but I do agree with you. I think they'd rather Europa League than they would rather Conference League next year.
Listen, if David Moyes wants to pick the phone up and he wants a Conference League spot, if we finish in the Conference League, it's all yours. I'll sign the contract now. You can have it, David, all right? Just go and win the Europa League.
I mean, it would be remarkable to see him win the Europa League, wouldn't it? It'd be truly absolute scenes for the Hammers. This game, though, at hand, I do think Arsenal win. And again, Spurs and Arsenal are going to go back and forth for that 4th spot until that final game, which I think is it on the final day of the season? Or
I believe it is. I'm pretty sure. Let me double check quickly.
I think it's final day of the season. I think it's final week because it obviously is a catch-up game. But it's
no, they've got a few. So they play on the 13th of May. Then they've got Newcastle and Everton. So Everton is their final day. So it's 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks away, the 13th of May.
So basically, they play that game and they have 2 games after that. So it's still definitely a decider, though, in my opinion. But this game at hand, I think Arsenal win. I think Arsenal have more to play for in this direct game. I wouldn't be surprised to see them win comfortably even. We move into your boys now, Tony, the final game of the round. I don't even know what to say. You're in shocking form. Your top 4 is done. I can confirm that. Do you beat Brentford at home?
I don't fucking know, to be honest.
If I'm you, you obviously want a result, but are you just expecting here for the lads just to show up, put in the performance, and show that they actually care about playing football for United. Like Ronaldo is obviously, but like the likes of Rashford and players like that, are you just expecting them to just show up for once?
That's the $1 million question. We've been expecting them to show up all year. And in glimpses, you know what, players do show up, but it's been a pretty piss poor season. It's going to go down as, I think it's almost our lowest points tally in.
Yeah, if you drop
I
any
don't
more
even remember what the stat was.
if you drop
Yeah,
any
so
more, you'll finish below what you did, a couple of years ago.
lowest point tally, lowest goals for, most goals against. Like, it's just been a dismal season. I don't expect Harry Maguire to play. I'm pretty sure Sancho got ruled out for the season overnight, so it probably means Rashford does start again. I wouldn't mind seeing the likes of a Bruno get a rest, give Mata that send-off that he probably deserves. He's been great for the club. Chuck Matic in there if you need a defensive mid. McTominay obviously isn't 100%. We saw that last game. I'm not saying rotate the squad for every game, but make some changes, bring some life into the squad because it's been a dismal 10 weeks and I'll be thankful when the season's behind us and we only have 2 games to go after this one. But like, I can't even pick United. That's what's worrying. I can't even say United are going to win this game, but I'm gonna go a 2-2 draw and say Ronaldo gets on the score sheet, De Gea pulls off absolute masterclass, and we somehow get a 2-2 draw.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with United win 2-1. It's not gonna be pretty. Ronaldo's gonna save you yet again. De Gea is obviously gonna be influential. But I want to ask though, I know you were obviously Ole out, but looking at the table, I mean they're still in the exact same spot as they were when they had Ole. Do you think that it would have made a difference if they had kept him, or do you think they would have is he just kind of the ship hasn't been steadied by Ranieri, that's for sure, but would they have been worse off now if they had kept Ole, or is this just a
No, I think I always backed Ole. I thought it was too long. He did his job, and it was more I was Ole out because I didn't want his legendary status to get tarnished. Like, you've come in, you've done a good job, you got us to where we were. Walk away now before you cop the whole blame. When obviously there's a lot more going on at that club that needs to change. You've obviously the Glazers number one. I won't get into it. We could be here for another hour. You look at Ralph. They brought him in. He's not really a big coach. He's that mastermind behind the scenes that helps out. And 4 days ago, he's all committed. And yesterday, he's the Austrian coach. So
he's staying though in his consultancy role though.
Yeah, but where does your tendency lies? Like, your focus was all on United. You're all in. You're going to turn this club around. Like, if they have a run at the European or wherever they're going, like, where does that focus? Do you go towards Austria or do you go towards United? It's a tough one. Obviously, Ten Hag, he does probably come in with the benefit that we do have a good youth system. He has come in from Ajax. He is used to using that. Who knows? It could be 3-4 years, but we could end up having a system like Ajax. But I think if Ole stayed in the job, he kept players happy. I think that's the difference. We've openly known that Ralph, some players aren't happy. He speaks his mind, so it's probably what the club needed. But from a player standpoint, Ole was a bit of a pushover, and that's what some of the players liked. And who knows? Like, I'd say we're being about a similar position, maybe a little bit higher, a little bit lower. It's all he say, she say, but yeah, it's not a pretty sight to be a United fan at the moment.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. It's hard to tell if you'd be better off if you had kept Ole. Would you have been fighting for top 4 potentially? But like you said, there, it didn't seem as though he lost the dressing room. He did keep players happy, but they also weren't performing up to their standards. So I think it was right that he did have to go and preserve his legendary status, like you said. But it's obviously it's proof that Ranieri has not come in and done well at all. And I think it was just unfortunate because I think you guys would have liked to get the next. It would have been ideal for you guys to go and get the next manager straight away. But having to bring this Ralph in for now, it just didn't help. I don't think any of the players liked the fact that they didn't know where their future lied either. You got a manager coming in, you don't know if he's going to be there, you don't know if he's going to sign. Because had Ralph have gone and performed out of expectations and gone and got top 4 comfortably, finished third even, you probably would have given him the job full time. So yeah, it's one of those ones where you don't know how it would have gone with Ole at the helm. But look, your focus is obviously definitely onto next season now. The players know they don't really need to play for Ralph because he's not going to be there. Yes, he probably has a say next year, but I think Ten Hag has the ultimate say. Apparently, that's the kind of manager he is. He doesn't let anything go past him. He always wants the kind of the final word. So interesting to see what players he kind of ships off and what players he wants to keep.
Obviously, I don't know if you saw this morning, Aaron, with Mr. What's his name? The second hand to Ed Shear, whatever his name, Ed Woodward stepped aside. So, huh?
You said Ed Sheeran for a second there.
I said Ed Sheeran for a second there. I was a bit all over the place, but obviously, there is things happening in the background at United, whether that's being forced out or whether that's being like, see you later. Obviously, Matt Judge, he has gone. He was a second in hand to Ed. So you've got rid of Ed. You've got rid of him. Does Eric Ten Hag bring someone in? Do we bring in, obviously, Ralph? Does he come in with a consultant? We don't know, but it's a step in the right directions. I think if you're a fan of United, you're just going, okay, that's one down. That's two down.
Yeah, that's it. You're ticking off the hit list, really.
Let's get sold. Let's get rid of the Glazers, bring a good owner in, and we're back. Like, you know what I mean?
The final tick would be the Glazers out, but I don't know when that's going to happen. For your sake, it definitely needs to, but who actually knows when it's going to happen? It looks as though Chelsea's got their buyer, Todd Bowley, I think, the LA Dodgers. Apparently he spends a ton of money on them, but he is an American owner, and they are notorious for not spending money on their English team. So who knows? Apparently he's all right. I don't know too much about. I don't know too much about the politics and all that, the finances around it, but he looks all right. I think he looked like one of the better ones out of the lot, because I think we could have had the Chicago Cubs owner, which again didn't look good to me. But yeah, so we'll see what happens there if he goes and pumps a lot of money into the club. Who knows? But for your sake, Glazers need to go and rebuild the club. But I think it starts with Ten Hag. I think you've finally got the manager you've been after for a little while, and you should hopefully see a change come next season. All right, we're going to wrap up the pod. Thanks for joining me, Tony. Hopefully we can get... it'd be nice to get a full gang on for once before the end of the season. I'm sure we can, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, thanks for joining me, Tony, and I'll see you again next week.
See you soon, mate.
Peace.